Hello, it's John Galante, president of AE Ventures, the folks that produce the Housing Transformation Summit. I wanted to take a couple of minutes today to talk about some ways that I think we can have more efficient and productive discussions at the summit coming up. I want to walk you through our key concepts and suggest some conversation starters for you, for vendors, solution providers, and the builders who've come out to this event. Maybe a way for us to make more determined progress on our goals of innovation, transformation, and most importantly, winning. So let's walk through them. First of all, a lot of you have heard me talk about this as we've discussed your potential attendance or participation in the event. The Make the World a Better Place purpose of housing transformation is to help builders increase their share of market. Now, when I put these pie charts together last year, the home building business was about a $330 billion a year business. That is not chump change. However, it's only $330 billion out of $3.5 trillion that was spent on housing in 2021. So if you look at the pie chart, we're only getting 9%. The vast share of the market is owned by used houses and their companion trades there in home improvement. Almost 80% of the market controlled by those spaces. And we think those are spaces that we can raid for market share moving forward. And the way to do that is with differentiation, to more positively differentiate the home itself with innovative and on-trend features and the personalization piece that is unique to new homes versus used homes, to have a better buying experience and a better living and asset management experience. So to get to the conversation starter, let's talk about that. When vendors and solution providers are talking to builders, let's ask these questions. How is this a product going to help me compete against a used house? How is it better than what's typically in place at a used house? How much better? Is there a way for us to quantify it? How can we describe it vividly? And Mr. Vendor, what are you going to do in the way of assets and tools to help me make that case to the buyer that this is dispositive on buying my new home that I'm building and providing to you, Mr. Buyer, versus the used house that you're most likely going to be looking at as well. And then on the solution side of things, it could be how are we going to make it the startup of that house easier? How are we going to make it easier to furnish? How are we going to make it easy for this to be complementary to your lifestyle, to project the desired image that you're looking for, to maybe even help you more easily and efficiently furnish and decorate the home as well? So those are some questions. You've got them all detailed there for you that you might ask about winning versus used. Okay. Then on the innovation side of things with the products, we've been talking about striking a new deal here, right? Where the builders who come to this event are not just going to be asking about last year's thing at 20% less. They're going to lean into the innovation. And on the vendor side of things, you've got an obligation that goes with that, and that is, and it's hard because you're a manufacturer and you think about how hard you've worked to design and build that product, but it's about more than the product for the builder, right? So yeah, let's walk through the features, benefits, advantages of the product itself, but then you got to look at the process supports that the builder needs to move forward successfully with innovation. So number one, if it hasn't been sold to consumers before or through builders to consumers, where's the research that says that this is in demand, and who specifically is interested in the products that you're offering? A lot of vendors offer pieces and parts of an entire ensemble or a system solution. How are you going to make it easy for the builder to get everything together so that they can offer a meal instead of ingredients to the buyer. Marketing and sales supports. This is critical. What assets, tools, process supports, process suggestions do you have as a vendor for the builder in the marketing and sales arena, so that the buyer recognizes the value that's being added by this new feature and doesn't count it against the builder as extra dollars per square foot because they don't understand the value proposition. Design and production supports, that could be subcontractor training, it could be subcontractor matchmaking, it could be reference designs, the things that make things go smoothly on the job site. More and more builders care about the ownership experience, not just through the warranty phase and the callback phase, but the longer term. So what are you doing, Mr. Manufacturer, to support that long-term ownership experience along with your trade partners? And then for the bigger builders, they're not going to jump in headlong into something new. So how do you support tests and trials? So that's the New Deal flywheel, the process supports that you should be talking about, builders and vendors on the product side of things. And then on the digital transformation side of things, I think a lot of times we get lost. We talk past each other. The buyer has different language and a different understanding for what's being sold to them, presented to them, than what the seller does. So how do we have kind of a roadmap to make sure we're talking about the same thing? And we've laid out these 6 facets of digital transformation, which could be helpful for you in terms of making sure you're both talking about the same thing, right? So on the front end, and this goes back to my goal for you all to gain market share. So the very front end of digital transformation to me is like, how do we get that buyer's attention earlier in the game? And digital's the key. We were always going to be outnumbered with in the physical world by all of the inventory of used houses that are available. Digital can be a level playing field for us, but we have to be more aggressive on the digital realm in terms of meeting the buyers as they start their journey. So that's about listings and marketplaces and search and what have you to get the attention of the buyer as they start the journey, and then those tools that engage them and get them started into phase 2, kind of the top and mid funnel tool sets, and I characterize those as virtualization, visualization, interactivity with floor plans and design and placement on a lot. I think number 3, this is important, using that digital design center functionality to, even before the close, give the buyer a sense of the benefits of the personalization that they can realize. And then when we get them to yes, how do we leverage digital design center? This is proven over the last 20, 30 years to up our take rates on options, to give the buyer, not only give us more revenue as builders, but give the buyer the finished home that they desire. And then how do we capitalize on the digital capture of all of that order information in the downstream production and purchasing aspects of the enterprise? And finally, if we have documented the buying journey and documented the as-built home digitally, we're sitting on some incredible consumer data that can be fed into ownership applications and fed to ecosystem partners to make the operation of the home easier, to make the maintenance of the home easier, to make even the furnishing and decorating of the home easier. So this could be useful for you in terms of thinking through major facets of digital transformation, and for solution providers to be talking about how they support these elements of the transformation process for home builders.